Hey everybody, Reefgrrl here. I thought it might be time for an update. I have three categories of corals. Those that died outright, those that are struggling, and those that are looking okay. So first of all, we'll start with the ones that have died. The Acropora. There's nothing left alive. And I know people will say, oh, just leave it. If there's a little tiny bit of tissue, it might come back. And I know that's true, but I'm not set up to house them until they come back. And quite honestly, it's depressing to look at the dead skeletons. So those are going to be removed. I wanted to do this video though before I cleaned up, just so I could kind of give you an overall sense of what's happened here. Yeah, the gold torch is toast. It's done. The hammer coral is also done. My neon green encrusting Montipora that turned to a plating Montipora is also done. I thought some tissue was coming back, but when I fluff it with a baster, it just all peels off. The golden heart frog spawn is over. Up until a couple of days ago, I was seeing bright yellow in the center under blue light, but nothing for the last little while. Coming over to the octo spawns, they're also done. Space Invader Pectinia. You can see it's about half white where the tissue is completely gone. There are other areas that I expect will soon turn white. However, there are a few spots where there is live tissue. And my hope here is that perhaps those areas will hang on and start to grow. I have lost pretty much all of my SPS, other than a couple, and most of my Euphyllia. So now let's look at what is doing well. Starting around the side, the red tree gorgonian did fine throughout and still puts polyps out every night. The kryptonite candy cane looked very rough for a few days, but now is starting to look pretty darn good. These mushrooms looked very bad for quite a while. They didn't even open. Now they're coming back. The chalice garden has hung in there. Really didn't ever look horrible. Other than the gold chalice got pretty dark, but it's coming back. The Leptocerus got really dark brown, but it is coming back, even though sections of it have bleached out. My theory is that's in the shade, and when it was struggling, it couldn't sustain that area, so it bleached out. Maybe it'll come back, but I doubt it. Sunny D's color has changed slightly, but they survived. The Looney Tunes Cyphastria suffered some areas of damage, but overall, it's still growing. This Goniastria looked a little shrunken for a couple days, but now it's coming back, and you can see it's encrusting on the rock there. This chalice looked bad for a few days, but since then, I believe it's also grown. The Season's Greetings Monties, there's two of them. The upper one has red polyps. It is coming back. The lower one also has red polyps. The green is a lot slower coming back, maybe because it's not getting quite the same light and flow, not sure. Turbinaria, with a nice big piece of fish poo in the middle there. It looked very bad for several days, and I think that white edge is bleached. It's not a growing edge. The lower edge that's light is the growing edge, but the top edge, I believe that's actually dead tissue. So we'll see if it grows over that. Branching Cyphastria looked pretty bad for quite a while, and in the last several days has really started coming back. The camera can't really capture how bright red the polyps are, and the skin is a very pale green. It's doing really well. This chalice never suffered at all from what I could tell, and it looks bigger to me than it was before all of this started. A bubble coral isn't as big as it was, however, healthy. It never suffered at all that I could see. It never retracted. It never looked horrible. This green Postulipora was one that I pointed out in my original video, and the colors come right back along with the polyp extension. Buster, the brain coral, also doing well. Got a bit of sand kicked on him right now. Puts feeders out every night and swells up during the day. Stanley the clam looks amazing, and I would venture to say even better than he did before all this happened. I wouldn't be surprised if that's because of the improvement in water quality, because of course I've had to get right on top of that to try and turn things around. I'm very, very grateful not to have lost Stanley. That Leptocerus, again, you can see an area of bleaching, and as I said, my theory, it just couldn't sustain itself when things were bad in here. The jack-o'-lantern Leptocerus. Color is right back where it was, other than the green centers. They're not as bright as they were, and you can see that encrusted area there to the left has taken a hit. But overall, it's looking pretty good. Both of those are Leptastria, different types. Also did very well throughout, didn't show any signs of problems. The fox coral was a huge surprise. This thing has looked amazing throughout. When it's fully open, it's blue in the middle. Cherry blastomussa. It shrunk a little, but then it does that from time to time. Overall, it has not suffered whatsoever from anything I can see. The Utter Chaos Pallies here and over here are doing well now. They were closed for probably a week, and they slowly started to open again. Orange Rainbow Pallies. They were also pretty tightly closed up, and I thought I was going to lose them at one point, but they're back now. This Purple Storm Chalice, made up name I'm sure, it's red with lavender blotches, and I think it's bigger than it was, even though it's not very big. The acans, they're also hanging on. They were a little bit closed up, but I think they're coming back quite nicely. The war coral, this lost its red completely, and it was grayed out. It was basically two shades of gray, dark gray and light gray. And now it's back to being red and green. Duncans. Everybody knows Duncans are the bellwether corals. And this one looks better every day. It was closed for over 2 weeks, and then it slowly started opening up. And now every day it opens just a little more. You can see all the new growth underneath here. This Passalipora, it's looking good, except for the areas of white. That could just be this little clown goby, Magnus, over here. He could be picking at it because he spends a lot of time in his bird's nest. And speaking of the bird's nest, you can see a lot of good, healthy tissue. However, there's also a lot of white. My thinking here is I may just remove the entire piece, frag it off, and restore it on a different rock. Haven't decided yet. Blue Jean Pallies, they've come back. They disappeared, essentially. Couldn't see them at all. The Starburst Montipora is now getting definite yellow dots, though I haven't seen polyp extension per se. It's got a lot of white around the edges. I think it's got a lot of repair to itself to do. And right in the middle, we have a lovely plume of Bryopsis, which will be taken care of when I treat the tank with fluconazole. You can see behind it, the orange plating Monty is pretty much done. This is the Starburst morph with the lime green polyps, and the polyps are out. So I have to think it's doing pretty well. Now, ones that are struggling. We'll start with the Pagoda Coral. I thought I had lost it. A few days ago, it was just flat and smooth and gray. Now there's a bit of green with bumps on it where it looks like it's going to start, I guess, blooming again. This little torch still has polyps, and with any luck it'll hang on because it is one of the purple and gold Indo torches, so I'm really hoping it comes back. The Cinerina, my bucket list coral, you can see some of the septae are pushing at the flesh, and I'm thinking it's maybe getting a little too much flow. Not really sure. I may rotate it and see what happens. This torch was really doing poorly. I realized it was pushed back under the rock, so it really wasn't getting much flow or light. And it's doing much better since I pulled it forward. It's actually a bright lime green, but of course it's lost a lot of its color because of the events that have gone on here. My button scoli, I don't think it's dying. I hope it recovers to what it once was because it's very beautiful. There's the Halloween hermit crab. I apologize for the blurriness, it's at the very back of the tank. Speaking of inverts, the inverts are all doing great. All of the shrimp, all of the crabs, I've seen them all, they're doing wonderfully well. I've even seen both pom-pom crabs, which only come out at night. I have seen Geronimo numerous occasions, and he's doing fine. My cleaner shrimp are doing fine. Stanley's doing fine. So all of these sort of more sensitive creatures seem to be okay. The fish are also fine. You can see them here. I have been watching them super closely for any signs of skin problems or breathing problems or behavioral issues that indicate they're uncomfortable, and I have seen nothing. There's been a little bit of aggression between the male angel and the green wrasse, but they're getting to be pretty big fish now. And I think I'm gonna have to watch that just in general. Speaking of struggling corals, this candy cane, I don't know whether those heads will survive. The other piece broke off and it's on the sand in the front. I have to replace that here. There's Pamela. This chalice has not improved, and if anything it looks worse than it did a week ago, so I don't know whether I'm going to lose that or not. The mushrooms. The red mushroom isn't red. It's kind of a grayish purple color right now. And there's the bullseye rhodactis, supposed to be orange and green, and it looks horrible. For some reason the mushrooms in here have really taken a hit. Looking at the citrus rhodactis, same thing. It looks like it's about to melt away, but the yellow brick road zoanthids look great. And if we come up here to my Florida Ricordia, yeah, these were orange and green. Now they're gray and white. They look like they're about to melt away, but I have no idea. Surprise, surprise, the sponges are doing great. So there's another very delicate, sensitive creature that should be negatively affected with water quality issues that seems to be doing fine. Back there, we've got the tangerine juice Leptocerus. Not looking so tangerine-y, but it's not bleaching. It just looks like a really dark color. You can see from the three categories that it's still an evolving process here. I haven't received any ICP test results yet, so it'll be interesting to see if that gives me any insight. One other thing I noticed was during a really cold snap, my pH dropped to around 7.7, and it worried me. I couldn't seem to get it very much higher than that day or night. So I added that air stone. It's one of the ceramic ones, and it's kind of a temporary setup for the moment. I have the air pump there right beside the window, which is slightly open. That piece of plastic is basically the lid of a container that's deflecting the cold air back to keep it as fresh as possible right by the pump. This has helped to the point that the pH is now 7.9192. This is pretty much 24/7 since I installed this about 10 days ago. If it turns out that I need to do that on a permanent basis, then I most certainly will. So thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. I think I'll do the next update after I receive my ICP test results. Here's your bonus for sticking around to the end of the video. Using a filter under blue lights, this is late at night, almost 11 p.m. You can see there is still a heck of a lot of color in here. So I'm really hopeful that things will get back on track with whatever's left. Swinging down to the pectinia, that's what I mean about the areas of what I hope are going to be live tissue that's going to come back.